Hello and welcome to On the Corner, the official podcast of pitcherlist.com. I'm your host, Eric Samulski, joined on the final episode of the regular season, the man himself, Nick Pollack.
What is happening?
Has come to an end in terms of the list and these podcasts.
Yeah, this is the last On the Corner about the regular season.
Mhm.
And if you don't know, next week, the plan, it sometimes gets delayed for 2 weeks if I feel like I just need to do more work into it. But the plan is for next Wednesday for me to have my first top 200 for 2025. So essentially all of Monday and all of Tuesday next week is me just finishing up reflection of the season. And one guy might be there. We might see this week, Eric.
Yeah, we might in the top 200. We might see one Jackson Jobe.
Yeah.
Who is getting called up today by the Tigers. Today, Monday. They have said he is just going to pitch out of the bullpen. So Nick and I aren't going to get a chance to talk about him later on in this episode. But obviously, he is the top pitching prospect in baseball, and you have been drooling about the possibility of seeing him in an MLB game. Sadly, we won't know which game it will be, but I'm sure you just hang out on Twitter and we'll get all those Steve Carell GIFs about like it's happening, and we can all run to our MLB TV.
What did you call them?
GIFs?
No, Eric.
Yes.
Eric doesn't know. He doesn't read the contracts he signs.
Well, that's what the guy who created it said that it's.
Yeah. Okay. So, if you guys don't know, the official corporation is not Pitcher List. It's actually Pitcher Gifts Inc.
Yes.
And whenever anyone signs to do work with Pitcher List in the contract, it stipulates that GIF is pronounced with a hard G. So Eric doesn't read his contract.
I guess I don't read the fine. I don't read the fine print.
You know, he doesn't read. Why can't he read?
Tougher.
Anyway,
I'm excited of a decade to not know how to read, but here we are.
I am so excited to watch Jackson Jobe. I was very disappointed with his AAA data in the one start that we saw. Actually, it might have been another one since, and
there was another one since that was better. But
it was better. Okay, good. I'll actually probably do that stealthily while we do this live podcast. And by the way, if you didn't know, yes, we are live on YouTube right now on the Corner podcast. So if you want to watch this later instead of just listening to it, definitely check it out. It's way better. So also, it's the end of the year, guys. I hope that a lot of you are still here just listening, even if your season is over. It's a lot of fun just still kind of figure out how the end of the season goes. We'll be reflecting for 2025 as well. And this stuff matters. This next another set of data for us to think about when making those decisions next year. And if we helped you at all this year, please consider supporting what we do. Get PL Plus or PL Pro, both provide an ad-free website and give access to our Discord. And we're also creating these amazing tools like our analytics dashboard for next year called the Bro Dashboard, which is amazing. And I cannot wait to dive into that with you guys. So go to pitcherlist.com/premium, use promo code podcast to get a discount on that as well. But yes, number one way to support us. And we hope you can do it if you've enjoyed this podcast throughout the year. Yep. So Eric, what today?
Well, we're going to talk about the final week of the season, and we are going to continue doing what we have been doing and go day by day and talk about the auto starts and the probably starts and the maybe starts and all of that for the remainder of the week. And so this is a good thing. Just, if you want to listen to it day by day to help you with your waiver ads as the week goes on, maybe you have a midweek Roto League ad, or you're in a head-to-head finals and you can pick up during the week. We're going to go through all of it as the week goes on, or we're going to go through the entire week. This is just the disclaimer we've been putting at the beginning of all of these episodes, that there is a lot of movement in the pitching rotations as the week goes on. Guys get shut down, guys get bumped for matchup purposes, whatever. We are recording this Monday afternoon, so if you're looking at like a Friday or a Saturday streamer, please just make sure to double check and ensure that the streamer that is scheduled as of today, Monday, is still actually set to pitch, because we don't really know how those matchups are going to change, and that will maybe determine who's available for you or whatever.
Exactly. So. Yep. And it's one of those things too that, especially the last week of the season, oh my gosh, is it just everything changes
crazy
so much,
right? And again, like, we are going to talk about a Friday start, and we're going to say, so like so-and-so's pitching against the Yankees. Well, maybe the Yankees clinch and they decide to sit Aaron Judge for the final 2 games of the regular season. Like, these are things we don't know. You're going to have to adjust to them in real time and do the best based on the information we've given you today and where pitchers rank to decide, okay, how many spots or whatever spots, how much can I move this guy up if he's facing a Yankee lineup without Soto and Judge, etc.
Exactly. So we're going to go into Tuesday.
We're doing it.
And what do we got on Tuesday?
Yeah, Tuesday we have 10 auto starting pitchers. We have Tarek Skubal, the AL Cy Young winner against Tampa Bay Rays, Bailey Ober against the Marlins, Cole Reagans against the Nationals, Framber Valdez against the Mariners, Nathan Eovaldi against the A's, Tanner Bybee against the Reds, Michael King at the Dodgers, Bowden Francis against the Red Sox, Spencer Schwellenbach against the Mets, Logan Gilbert against the Astros. Most of these guys, again, they're auto starts. We don't have to go too much into it. Just talk to me about, it seems like a tough matchup for Michael King, but he is in here in the auto start because he's just been so good.
Yeah, he's been incredible. He is the king with his crown. I feel as if you have Michael King, you start him at this point. And the other guys below him, I mean, Logan Gilbert's also in here against the Astros. Not as scary, especially without Alvarez in there, I would assume, with the knee pain. But it's still not the most ideal situation. And also, I feel that Michael King is just that good that you do throw him in there. And Bowden Francis is here too. And I'm throwing my hands up in the air, like, whatever, Bowden Francis. And Spencer Schwellenbach, I think he deserves to be here, even though he hasn't gotten the slider whiff. So Michael King, I think, is the best of the lot there. And even though it's the Dodgers, it's still an auto start for me.
There you go. We move into the probably starts. It's Tobias Myers against the Pirates, Ryan Pepio against the Tigers, Brandon Pfaadt against the Giants, Luis Severino against the Braves, Logan Webb against the Diamondbacks. Severino was bumped to this start, potentially to give him 2 starts down the stretch. I know we think of the Braves as a tough matchup, but you have him up here in the probably start tier, so I guess you seem fairly confident that he can handle this one.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of Atlanta, really. I have them in the second of 5 offensive tiers, and Severino goes 4-seamer, sinker, sweeper. I kind of don't like guys who are 4-seamer, sweeper. I think generally, if you're a 4-seamer sweeper, that means you have a more over-the-top arm angle, kind of like a Pivetta or Crawford, and it makes it actually easier for them to distinguish between the sweeper and the 4-seamer. However, Severino's a little bit lower of an arm angle. It's worked out for him. Fine. Pfaadt just looks so good too, by the way. Oh my gosh, that was like the best Pfaadt I've seen all year. Mm-hmm. And now he gets the Giants, so he's in here too. And then Logan Webb against the Diamondbacks. Like, it's the Diamondbacks, and Logan Webb hasn't been amazing.
Right.
I don't really know what to make of him fully. So they're all here. I think if you have these guys, you're going to let them go.
A couple interesting matchups in the questionably starts here. We have Jack Kahanowitz against the White Sox, Clark Schmidt against the Orioles, Brian Bayo against the Blue Jays, Mitch Spence against the Rangers, Mitchell Parker against the Royals, Dean Kremer against the Yankees, Justin Steele against the Phillies, and Jonathan Cannon against the Angels, and Bailey Falter against the Brewers. We talked about Kahanowitz. I think it is Kahanowitz, right?
Oh, Kahanowitz. I mean, that's what I've been saying.
We talked about him for a few weeks now as kind of like a quality start bet. He gets the White Sox. He has pitched decently. Why questionable start and not probably start here?
He is a jack of one trade. Kahanowitz.
We're going up.
I stand up and I show fantasy football is stupid. Sorry, this is the time of the year where everyone just starts pivoting over. With Kahanowitz, he doesn't get strikeouts, so he actually doesn't have that much of a ceiling compared to other guys, and it just means look, if you're on 3 earned runs, then it's just there's not much for you to salvage there.
Right.
He throws good sinkers; they're hard and they're generally well located, but yeah, Kahanowitz isn't this stud arm, and I feel because of that, the ceiling makes him into questionable start. But the jack of one trade is good, and he made it work last time, and hopefully goes on for one more time.
Yeah. Interested in your thoughts in Brian Bayo, because the last 2 starts have been decent. It was the Yankees and the Rays. Actually, kind of 3 starts, because he allowed 2 earned runs and 5 1/3 against the Orioles. The 5 walks in that start, not great.
Yeah.
But listen, a 3.38 ERA across his 4 starts in September. You've got just 19 hits allowed in 21 1/3, 18 strikeouts. Again, the 10 walks is a problem, but I feel like the baseline performance hasn't been that bad, and the Blue Jays haven't been that good. So it feels like it could work out here.
Oh yeah. I mean, could it work out for Conowitz? Could it work out for Clark Schmidt as well? I also heard your hesitation as you said the names. I was like, okay, I need to make sure that I talk about him because wow, Brian Bayo's here. I call him a cherry bomb now. I really don't know what he's going to be able to throw on a given day, and I want to be able to say, oh no, cool. I feel really good about this J start. I don't, because I just don't know how he's going to perform. I don't know what he'll have. I have more faith that Kohanowitz is going to have his approach, for example, than Bayo's. So that's why he's down here at 18 in the questionable start tier.
Yeah, and if you are looking for a stream for winning for a win purposes, right? Obviously, Rafael Devers not being in the Red Sox lineup puts a damper on that lineup, which is good for opposing pitchers against them, but also not great for trying to stream pitchers on the Red Sox. And then Tyler O'Neill had a back injury, and I was trying to see if he's in the lineup for today, just in general, because he is. So he's back in there.
He's a ton of fun. There's also Mitch Spence and Mitchell Parker. Mitchell Parker kind of being like a Toby. Spence being kind of good with cutters and sliders, and the Rangers don't really scare me. And then the real one here that is interesting is Justin Steele, because how long is he going to go? And it's an elbow injury, and I feel like the Cubs should have shut him down, but they didn't.
Right.
And it's against the Phillies, which isn't fun either. And the whole thing is just like, I don't know. But then again, it could just be good Justin Steele. So,
let me ask if people are listening live right now and they are in 2-start leagues. Landon Knack is in your do not start tier, but he does get a second start, but it is in Coors. I'm just curious if like weekly lineup lock leagues change how you would view Landon Knack.
I would not. In weekly lock leagues, I'm not going to chase any 2-start pitchers this week because I have no idea. I mean, this is the one week where no one knows really what Sunday is going to look like. And especially with the Dodgers, they always have like weird guys just do things all the time. Like some random guys just like, you know what? No, Tony Gonsolin's showing up this week, guys. Like, what? So I don't know if Landon Knack's going to go for both of those. And I also feel as if the Dodgers are going to have a quicker hook against stronger teams for a guy like Landon Knack. So yeah, I'm not a fan of these.
There you go. Move on to Wednesday. There's only 4 auto start pitchers for Wednesday, September 25th. It's Chris Sale against the Mets, Yusei Kikuchi against the Mariners, Zach Gallen against the Giants, and Freddie Peralta against the Pirates. Seems pretty self-explanatory, but anything to add?
You don't need me.
You guys, you got it. You got it. Probably start tier. Kevin Gossman against the Red Sox, Cody Bradford against the A's, Dylan Cease against the Dodgers, George Kirby against the Astros, Zach Eflin against the Yankees, Jack Flaherty against the Padres, Christopher Sanchez against the Cubs, Joey Cantillo against the Reds, Zach Littell against the Tigers, David Peterson against the Braves. Cease, Kirby, Eflin, Flaherty all get really bad matchups, but again are strong enough pitchers. It's kind of like the Michael King discussion from Tuesday.
Some might be surprised at Flaherty because I've considered him an ace all year, but what I've seen over the past month is that the slider is not as consistent. And that's a really tough matchup against the Padres. He did a poor quality start. That is 3 runs and 6 against the Marlins. And I'm just a little weirded out at the moment by Flaherty. So I have him underneath the other options. But yeah, I mean, these are all really tough matchups for guys that generally would be in the auto start tier, and so it goes.
Talk to me about Mr. Vulcan change, Joey Cantillo, because we talked last week about the fact that he, has been looking better of late. And he was a prospect of note. He dealt with a fair amount of injuries coming up. And it kind of like dampened his I don't know, not prospect pedigree, but how much people were really interested in what he was going to do. And listen, you mentioned the kind of like how long will they go? He didn't even go 5 innings against the Twins, and he wasn't actually pitching that poorly. Like 6 strikeouts, 2 runs, 1 earned, 3 hits in 4 1/3. So the Guardians are maybe going to yank him early.
Well, I think that was more of a pitch count issue. I believe he was around like 87, maybe 90 pitches. Something
he was
at
86. Yeah.
86. Okay. So that to me is more of the issue and less of the leash itself. Sure. The Guardians are not like the Twins. I feel like the Guardians would just let Cantillo go. And this is going to be on the road with Cincinnati. It's in Cleveland, yes, which is also a home run thing, but I just feel that that's a better situation for Cantillo. And even though I've spoken a lot about how questionable or skeptical, I should say, of the Vulcan change with Cantillo, I think he's in a good groove with it right now. So you're going to roll with it.
Yeah. Yes. In the last 16 1/3 innings, he has allowed just 8 hits, 2 earned runs, and he has struck out 22
That's pretty
and
good.
walked just 4.
I mean, the Rays and White Sox will help there, certainly.
Yes. But the Twins, I mean, and the Twins are
the Twins was the bad one.
struggling a little bit, but yeah. Well, but I mean, listen, pitch counts will run up when you strike out 6 guys in 4 innings.
Yeah, well, Cantu needs to get his four-seamer upstairs more. I mean, that was what made it worse for him, I think, in this one. Just also wasn't efficient and consistent at executing everything in that start, too.
And we had been riding the David Peterson train of late. Same kind of like
Weird.
matchup against the Braves. You feel more confident, not that you would pick one or the other, but do you feel more confident in Peterson than Severino in the same matchup?
Yeah, I mean, Peterson has generally just done well with commanding everything. Last start was bad against the Phillies, and we've seen a blip from him before. And it doesn't surprise me that he didn't do that well in that start because he didn't locate as well. However, he's located more often than not in the past, I'd say, 6 weeks now. So I think we're in this case where if you have David Peterson, you're going to bank that it's going to be the good outcome more so than the bad one, which then means it's not a coin flip like it is questionable start. It's more on the favorable side of probable start.
Okay. Yeah, I get it. I'm curious your thoughts on the top guy and the questionably starts here, but we get Richard Fitz against the Blue Jays, Nestor Cortez against the Orioles, Jose Suarez. He does play on the Angels, in case you forgot. He gets the White Sox. Keider Montero gets the Rays. DJ Hers against the Royals. Edward Cabrera against the Twins. Luis L. Ortiz against the Brewers. Simeon Woods Richardson against the Marlins. Brady Basso against the Rangers. Davis Martin against the Angels. And Javier Assad against the Phillies. Let's talk about Richard Fitz. 15. I mean, he has not allowed an earned run in his first 15 innings. He is, I think, him and Andrew Abbott are the last 2 guys to do it, or the only 2 guys to do it. We talked about our doubt in Andrew Abbott in the past. I feel like maybe Fitz fits into the same mold.
Yeah, Fitz. Well, I mean, Fitz is a little different. I think I'm in a situation where Fitz, it's a good IVB four-seamer, not like the best one, and a slider underneath, and that's really it. It's not really this magical, oh my gosh, this guy deserves all the success. And so I have a thing called the shag rug, which is the young man's floor. Rookies have a much lower floor than veterans. And I don't really see an electric pitcher in Richard Fitz. So I'm not saying that he can't go 5.1 innings, 1 run or something like that in this game against the Jays. Just it's not as okay. No, I know I'm going to put him in here. I feel really good about this. So I'm ready to stamp the this one. I've got this start. Let's see what else is there. Nah, he's still unknown to us a little bit.
Unknown also Jose Suarez, mainly because he has not really been around for much of the season. No. What is your confidence level in Jose Suarez? Because we love the matchup, but there are a lot of other question marks here.
Lefty with the changeup works for me against the White Sox. That's kind of how I feel about this. He just did well also with the slider against the Astros, and I go, well, White Sox. So yeah, that's really why Jose Suarez is as high as he is here.
Fair. A lot of other, at least positive, interesting matchups here. Any guys you want to talk about? Keider Montero against the Rays, Simeon Wood Richardson against the Marlins, Davis Martin against the Angels, Edward Cabrera really we talked about against any team if he's pitching well.
Yeah, I actually might move Woods Richardson underneath Davis Martin because the Twins haven't really liked to let him go that long. And Davis Martin, at least the White Sox, yeah, sure. Can you go 85? Great, thanks. And they'll just let him keep going. With Basso, I actually think he's a decent pitcher. Just didn't have a good matchup before, and the Rangers are a little bit easier. I know your boy at Luis L. Ortiz is here, and he finally got whiffs on the breaking stuff. Oh my gosh, finally! Jeez, 7 whiffs on the slider last time, but I don't know if it's going to return. And the Brewers are not the most fun team to face.
Not a great matchup. No.
And Edward Cabrera is your perfect example of a coin flip. You don't know what you're going to get. It could be great, it could be terrible. So I put him right in the middle of questionable start here.
Right next to DJ Hers, who's basically the exact same way.
Yeah, he has a little bit of an easier time, I think, against the Royals, and it's a little more consistent start to start with DJ Hers.
Yeah. I noticed a name in the do not start in a good matchup. It's Michael Lorenzen. I assume this is just because it's right off the IL and we just have no idea.
I just don't think he's going to go long enough. I wish he would. I remember circling this one, but nope, he didn't come back in time. So I just don't trust that Lorenzen is going to go long enough for us to get good value against the Nationals.
Yeah. We are also not going to go long enough before our break to talk about Thursday's starts. So we'll get to that in just a little bit.
Take it away, Eric. Good job.
Thanks. That was a little forced, but we'll take it and run.
It's always forced. We got to take a break.
That's true. We have to. Thursday, September 26th. We've got auto starts. Garrett Cole against the Orioles, Max Fried against the Mets, Corbin Burns against the Yankees, and Sean Manaea against the Braves. Manaea, probably the only one that people would be shocked to see up here, even though he's been pitching great for a while now.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's hard to deny at this point that if you have Sean Manaea, you are just going to start him, and we don't ask any other questions. That's it.
Yep. You don't. Just how good does it feel to start Sean Manaea?
Yeah.
Question you
right.
ask. A very small probably start tier, just 3 guys. Michael Wacha against the Nationals, Tyler Anderson against the White Sox, and Joe Musgrove against the Dodgers. Tyler Anderson, lefty with a changeup against the White Sox. Joe Musgrove, tough matchup against the Dodgers. Is this a little bit of like the Michael King thing where he's just been looking really good of late?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough matchup. I am actually a little surprised that like Michael Wacha and Tyler Anderson are arguably auto start, given those matchups too. So Joe Musgrove is really like the top of probable start for me. Feels like that because he's been pitching great. His last start was a really good command of all of the secondaries. He did not let his fastball get in the way of everything in the middle of the plate, right? He utilized it along the edges properly. So I feel really good about Musgrove, but then again, it is the Dodgers and that can be a rough one. So there is obviously risk involved, but I feel like if you have Musgrove, you're going to start him.
Yeah. Interested to see at the top of the questionable starts here. We have Reese Olson against the Rays, Aaron Savali against the Pirates, David Festa against the Marlins, Kumar Rocker against the A's, JT Ginn against the Rangers, Tyler Alexander against the Tigers, Patrick Corbin against the Royals, Mitch Keller against the Brewers, Walker Buehler against the Padres, Garrett Crochet against the Angels, and Kyle Gibson against the Rockies in Coors. Reese Olson hasn't gone long since coming back. I assume that him being at the top of the questionably start tier means that he would be in the probably start tier if we had any sort of faith in the amount.
Yeah, if we thought it'd be 90 pitches, he would be there. I think Olson's around 75 now, something along those lines, as in like he would be stretched out to 75 in this one against the Rays. And I think that's enough for him to go 5. He's pitching well enough to do it. So I also looked at the rest of the tier here. This is not a good questionable start tier.
Right.
I always think about that. Like, Nick, it's just tiers. Like, it should be all the same. No, it's not. There are some times where there are guys that are pushing probable start and other guys that are just staving off do not start. And this is a lot closer to the latter, I feel. So, like Aaron Savali and David Festa, I want to like more, but we haven't really seen them do good things consistently. Right. You know, it's really tough to put any faith in them.
Kumar Rocker's last start was not great.
Exactly. Kumar Rocker stumbled in the last one. JT Ginn didn't do well against the Yankees. Actually, did kind of well against the Yankees, but did poorly against the Tigers. And he does worse against lefties because it's really just sinker slider. Changeup kind of showed up against the Yankees a little bit. He really was outside the zone all the time with this sinker, which is good. I don't know if he'll have that command again, but there's a chance that one works. T-Lex, Tyler Alexander against Detroit. Maybe that actually is a vultured win. You know, he has done that. Patrick Corbin is the cutter. Okay. Mitch Keller was so bad in his last start. Did not hit 94 on a single fastball. Mitch Keller, he's supposed to sit like 95. He didn't hit a single one at 94. I truly feel like Mitch Keller is hurt. Walker Buehler against the Padres. I mean, come on. Garrett Crochet is just here because he has to be here because, hey, maybe it's another 8 strikeout game or whatever. And Kyle Gibson against Coors, I have him here because you know what? I've seen crazier things than Kyle Gibson go 6 innings and find a quality start or win in Coors. So that's what you're dealing with here. Festa, you would think, Nick, don't you love Festa? I'm like, I do. I'm also aware of how the Twins limit their starters right now, especially the young ones. And Festa has been battling his repertoire. He's not as polished as I would want him to be. So all of this is just like, well, I guess it's Reese Olson against the Rays at the top.
Right. And this is a situation where like you're really looking at team tendencies when the rubber meets the road, right? Are they going to pull a guy early if they need that game? And some of those teams like the Twins, they will pull a guy early, but you're also like, you know, this is where it becomes so tough right? Because what happened the start before? How taxed is the bullpen? If the bullpen's not that taxed and it's a must-win game, these guys like Olsen and Festa, whatever, might get pulled at 3 innings. If the starter before, if Kiter Montero has a terrible start and Reese Olsen and the bullpen is all thrown a whole bunch of innings, they might push Reese Olsen a little more. This is where you're like, you have to kind of shift as the week goes on to determine how important that game is for that team and what are they likely to do with the pitcher in the first rough patch.
Yeah, exactly.
Tough spot.
Yeah.
Not in a tough spot on Friday.
I should mention there's 2 do not starts.
Well, yes.
Valente Beazo against Minnesota, which I just feel like you get like one thing from him every time. Maybe it's like a 1 in a run, or maybe you get a win, but like you don't like anything. It's 3 out of the 4 are bad. And Kyle Freeland is in Coors, so you don't want to touch that one. Sorry. Just got to mention it all.
You got
Friday.
I get it. Yeah, I get it. You got to everybody a little bit of love. Friday, the auto start tier is Carlos Rodon against the Pirates, Pablo Lopez against the Orioles, and Jose Barrios against the Marlins. I assume Jose Barrios is here because it's the Marlins and he's fine.
Barrios has been absurdly good like the last 2 months. I mean, I put out an SP roundup saying like, guys, you don't have to hold on to this. This is just really tough and he's not in a good place. And then he's just been amazing since then. Yeah. So this is actually the best season, I think, of his career, technically by ERA and WHIP right now.
Which is wild because when I look back on it, I don't.
You don't
in
feel
my
that
head,
way
because it has not been a great Jose Barrios season.
It's been so ridiculous for Barrios.
Yeah. Probably start tier. We got a good start this weekend from Cutter Crawford. Cutter Crawford gets the Rays. Luis Castillo against the A's. Jacob deGrom, Nick's #1 overall pitcher in 2025.
I never said he was. I was playing devil's advocate.
And I did appreciate that tweet. Jacob deGrom gets the Angels. Jameson Taillon gets the Reds. Nick Martinez gets the Cubs. And Ranger Suarez gets the Nationals. Let's talk about deGrom. deGrom and Castillo are both guys we would normally see in the auto start tier. Castillo, I assume it's because he's coming off the IL, so we don't know how long he's going to go. And deGrom is the same thing. We've been abbreviated outings, so we don't really know how long he's going to
go. That's exactly what's going on here. Carter Crawford, you got to kind of do against the Rays. And deGrom, I originally had in that auto start. I'm like, well, actually, he might just go 5, hopefully. And really on that, I mean, just to finish off this probable starts, like Taillon, he's been grooving and he gets Cincinnati on the road, which is nice. So away from Sin City. And then you have Ranger Suarez, who I barely got in there because I was like, fine, if you have him, you're going to do it for a win chance against the Nationals. I don't love him, but whatever, you're going to do that. And Nick Martinez has just been so good with the changeup. And it's like, yes, that's what I was saying, man. You throw more changeups, it's good. So, Eric, where just talking off the cuff here, I know I'm not going to hold you to it. Where do you have Jacob deGrom ranked next year?
I think he's clear in the top 10.
Oh yeah.
I think I can't put him above Skubal and Skeens probably right now. I probably can't put him ahead of Wheeler because of the consistency that we've had from Wheeler over the years. So like we start getting into like Strider, Cole, Burns, and then I think deGrom enters in the conversation there because what are we getting from Strider? He was hurt all year. Cole,
well, Strider's not going to be ready.
Well, I mean, I assume not, but we don't know. I mean,
yeah. I mean, for him to get Tommy John and come back within 10 months is absurd.
Well, but no, he's not going to be ready. But is he going to be ready to throw 120 innings next year?
Right, but okay. So the question then becomes, I mean, we have no idea. 120 seems like the high of Strider. Sure. And then we've seen guys get Tommy John in May and then not return until August or something like that. You don't really know what the timeline is. The number one thing for deGrom is that he did come back already and is throwing 99.
Well, yes. And that's where, and he has a very long history of injuries, I know, but that's where I'm saying, that's where I kind of feel like you start to get into the tier of those guys where it's like, and the Corbin Burnses and the Luis Castillos, the guys who are like aces, but they didn't quite capitalize. And are you going for the upside of like, if I get 110 innings of deGrom, it's going to be better, but I might get 60 innings. And
so this is where I'm struggling a lot because I don't have an answer. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that deGrom has to be the first pitcher off the board. And I feel like there's no really he's not going to be SP number 1 next year, right? It's probably going to be Skeens. That's what I think everyone's going to do. It's going to be Scooble. It's going to be going back and forth like that. I remember back in like April, there were so many conversations, endless conversations. What was the talking point in baseball? Oh, it was about, oh my gosh, all of these pitchers are hurt. How do we stop this endemic of everyone getting hurt? If you throw over this velocity, you're going to get hurt, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And a thought was, look, like if we're saying that all of these pitchers are just going to get hurt by throwing so hard, I guess I want the ones that are fresh off Tommy John because they have the healthiest elbow, right? And this idea, I mean, look at who was the number 1 SP last year. It was Spencer Strider. What happened after a month and change? He went and got Tommy John. And then you look at Chris Sale, who finally got all the rest he needed to come back healthy. And what do you know? He is like the number 1 SP this year. Like he's going to win the Cy Young. And this idea of like, well, no, hold on a second. These rocks forever. Like Garrett Cole never gets hurt. All of a sudden now he's got some forearm thing. Like, I don't know if that's going to be okay or not. He misses a significant amount of time, right? It's just a concept of how can we actually judge injury history?
Right.
How can we actually judge who is really hurt and who's not? Tyler Glasnow, I think we can say, hey, look, you're a guy that just finds a way. And okay.
And you wouldn't say that about DeGrom?
Guy that just finds a way. And that's actually an interesting conversation too, because his injuries have been really Tommy John, and he had a shoulder thing, but essentially complications of Tommy John in 2021, 2023, and 2024, the same injury. And there's just a thought of like, all of that commentary aside, I still believe that. I don't care what you want to say about Skeens and Scooble and Chris Sale, Zach Wheeler. There is no better pitcher on the planet than Jacob deGrom. If you give me 180 innings of all of those guys, Jacob deGrom is the best pitcher. The argument even entering 2023 last year was the projections for Jacob deGrom were like 40% better than every other pitcher. And it was like, well, 100 innings of Jacob deGrom is even better than like other guys at 130, 140. That was the argument then. I'm not saying I agree with that argument. What I'm getting at is there are all these thoughts about the quality of a guy like deGrom. And because we haven't seen him do it, I guess, for a little bit, like we feel like as if he's not that guy anymore and these other people have taken over. But I don't know. I haven't decided where the weights should be placed yet. It's really tough.
I think people lump deGrom in with Glasnow as one of those he's always hurt guys. And I'm not here to say that's right or wrong.
Yeah, that could be right.
Because Glasnow would have also argued all of my injuries were related to the same injury because it was that same like Tommy John or whatever shoulder, elbow that like wasn't being picked up on the MRI and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, but he is in the conversation or should be in the conversation. Let's let him get through this last start healthy, and then I'd love to see a full,
sorry,
an opening day.
I think this is a really interesting one because I want to be very clear. I am not saying that I want Jacob deGrom as number 1. I feel as if it's not, the conversation isn't acknowledging all of the factors right, and that's why I think it's interesting. Because I think the quality assessment of deGrom isn't quite, we haven't really sat down and analyzed that one enough as just a massive community, like just the discourse I've been seeing. Because I put out that poll, and the fact that it was only 5% as deGrom as one and like 50% Skeens, and I'm like, well, we've only seen, I know, trust me, the skill assessment of Skeens, I think he's amazing, and also I've only seen 10 innings or so of that. Right. For a guy who I don't think he has Tommy John, right? No Tommy John.
I don't believe so, no.
And he throws 100. And I mean, aren't we falling into the same trap as we did with Strider in this respect? And then you have Scooble, who I still feel is kind of strange in the way that he gets his results, but that's just me. And then Wheeler, who's been this workhorse, but then if you remember like 2 years ago, he was the injury prone one.
Right.
And it's just, we keep flip-flopping which one is what's important, what's not. And it's like, we should just equate it all. I don't know. I think it's so close. And that's what I'm getting at. And I think it's really, really difficult to discern. So,
and when it is that, we can be honest, when it is that close, we have a gut feeling or whatever, and we tend to create a narrative around why that person is that close. And so 1 year, previous Tommy John matters, and in the other year it doesn't matter because
that's a great point too, right?
I want to take this because I believe this guy is better.
Yeah, right.
And I think sometimes we just have to be okay saying, I just think he's better. I don't have like data or
right.
I don't have the rationale to back it up other than we know he's a good pitcher. We know all of these 5 guys are good pitchers. If push comes to shove, I'm going to take player A because I just feel better about what he's going to do this year. And I understand people don't want to make decisions based on feel, but I'm not like picking I'm not like, hey, Tanner Houck, he's going to win the AL Cy Young this year and he's my SP1. I'm not picking a random pitcher out of a grab bag for number 1. I'm saying we have the data and the information that has given us basically like these 5, 6, 7 guys. This is the one that I feel then from that group gives me the best chance of consistent success throughout the year. But we have kind of pushed back on any answer, any decision that's not based on data or stats. And
it's what's really funny,
sometimes I think I played the game better when I was just watched baseball and made a roster.
Right?
That was it.
Watch me put Garrett Crochet as SP number 1.
You're gonna get a lot
because I feel like it's gonna get dealt in the offseason.
Maybe. Oh my god, if they deal
dealt to the Dodgers, how can he not be SP number 1?
Well, because it didn't work for Glass now, but yes.
Well, yeah, but he's not Glass now.
I know. Yes, no, that's true.
Okay, that's enough of that. That was fun, guys. We're going to talk about the questionable starts on Friday now.
We are going to do that. We're going to talk about the questionable start tier Friday. That's September 27th. A lot of names here. Merrill Kelly against the Padres, Cade Povich against the Twins, Taj Bradley against the Red Sox, Jared Jones against the Yankees, Brady Singer against the Braves, JP Sears against the Mariners, Jose Quintana against the Brewers, Charlie Morton against the Royals, Landon Roop against the Cardinals, Adam Oller against the Blue Jays, Miles Michaelis against the Giants, Justin Verlander against the Guardians, Casey Mize against the White Sox, Trevor Williams against the Phillies, and Reed Detmers against the Rangers. I'm curious your take on Landon Roop against the Cardinals because I know from listening to Rates and Barrels that Eno is a big fan of him and mentions that the Stuff Plus metrics have maintained.
Eric.
Was that on the Craft?
Yeah.
No. Listen, I listened to both podcasts. It's Eno's voice in my head, and I forgot who he was talking to. I apologize.
Oh my god!
I'm sorry. I apologize to you.
I am so hurt.
But listen, I listened, right? I mean,
you
I got
you
listening. Yeah.
You listen. Whatever. No, I'm just messing around with you. This is another one of just like, oh gosh, look at all of these guys. Landon might move higher, might be lower. To me, I still see the Brady Singer comp. Even in that game, it was sinker curve. And that could be enough. The curve, I think, is better of a breaking ball than traditional curveballs, but I don't know. This is an entire ridiculous mess of questionable starts. Jared Jones, I mean, his command was horrible against the Reds. It was so bad. He was fighting with it the entire time. There's Brady Singer, the other part of the Spider-Man meme against Atlanta. Taj Bradley, who knows? Cade Povich, I mean, he's been doing all right, but it's the Twins. Merrill Kelly against the Padres. Like, all of it is just, I don't know. I might actually move Trevor Williams above Casey Mize and Justin Verlander just because he did look really good with the sweepers that were down and the four-seam was effective in his smaller start. But all of this is just, oh gosh, I don't want this to come down. Like, I don't want my season to come down to these guys.
Yeah, I get that. And I guess you certainly, especially Reed Detmers after what he did last week.
Oh gosh. Oh boy.
You certainly don't want your season to come down to all the guys in the do not start tier. It's Ben Lively, Chris Flexen. We're flexing on the beach. The beach is closed for right now. Martin Perez.
Couldn't find them in San Diego. What is this?
Yeah, Quantrill. Tony Gonsolin. Colin Ray.
Yeah, Martin Perez against the Diamondbacks. He's getting a short leash as well. And just be careful about that one. It is at Detroit. And I got to say, Chris Flexen isn't so bad.
I know.
It's kind of funny. But yeah, no, you can't do this. Ben Lively, honestly, might deserve questionable start above Detmers. I think Detmers actually should be in do not start. I might switch that before I put out the list. But it's...
you just move him down there.
Tony Gonsolin, by the way, should just really be in relief in this one. I should probably put him maybe at 30 with Conray above it.
For your mental health, just don't start Reed Detmers. I mean, First of all, we know what's going to happen. You know he's going to deal. because he was atrocious last week and everybody started him and everybody's going to bench him and he is going to shove. We know that. Accept it. Put him on your bench. Just move on. It's just the way the world is going to work. And you know what? We'll give you a bunch of other pitchers to start instead, starting with Saturday, but we'll do that after this break.
Who we got on Saturday, Eric?
Saturday, September 28th, we have 6 auto starts. We have Blake Snell against the Cardinals, Zach Wheeler against the Nationals, Seth Lugo against the Braves, Paul Skeens against the Yankees, Brian Woo against the A's, and Ronel Blanco against the Guardians. Listen, Lugo's been great all year, so it's really just Blanco that's an interesting name to see up here. But also, again, we talked about this. Blanco's been pretty good. Guardians have already clinched the division and playoff spot. We don't know what their lineup's going to look like on that Saturday. It might wind up being a great spot. We have no idea.
Yeah, Blanco, I feel as if they stopped him once and with the Astros too, and they feel like, oh, okay, cool. We got to make sure we run with this. I think Saturday is where we start to really see guys get pulled back, though. So, for example, Wheeler could get some time off if the Royals are finding themselves in a comfortable situation. They would want Lugo for Wednesday, so that would be about 3 days off. And they might not want to do that. So Lugo might not be there. It might be someone else, or he might get pushed to game 3 because of that one. And they don't really want to do that. If they're clear and good, then Lugo might not go in that start. And Paul Skeens too. I originally had him lower because I thought that the Pirates wouldn't let him go. They might now. I don't know. Monitor that, of course. And same thing with Ronel Blanco. The Astros are all set. Like, they should just, it's going to be Kikuchi and Valdez and probably Blanco as their number 3. So, yeah, they probably are going to slow him down too.
Yeah. Keep an eye on it as the week goes on. Probably start tier. We have Luis Gil against the Pirates, Nick Pivetta against the Rays, Brant Herter against the White Sox, Sean Burke against the Tigers, Shane Baz against the Red Sox, Yoshinobu Yamamoto in Coors, and Yu Darvish against the Diamondbacks. I think I said Nick Pivetta was against the Red Sox before. He pitches for the Red Sox. So he's going to pitch against the Rays. Interesting to see. I know you liked what you saw from Sean Burke before, seeing Brant Herter and Sean Burke in here.
Oh, Sean Burke. It was so good. I implore anybody to go back and watch not just the first game, but the second game against the Padres. This was a guy who he's throwing 95, 96 with his 4-seamer. It's elite extension. He's at 7 feet of extension, which is already saying cool. At 95, 96, he has more like 97 plus. And then you have it at elite verts. We're talking like 18 inches of IVB on this. And then you think, okay, cool. That's got to be like a bad attack angle. It's neutral. It's 0.9, which is essentially just no effect. Mm-hmm. That's great. And then you have a 50% CSW slider that ranges from 86 to 89. A curveball that was about 55% strikes, but there were some really good ones. Yes, he did. He was a little bit more inefficient with that one. And then he had like a surprise changeup here and there. And he had 97 to strike out his final batter. Jake Cronenworth struck out Fernando Tatis in the same inning with 97 as well. This is in the 6th. Oh my gosh. It was cool. I mean, look, I'm not saying that he's going to be like a top 20 guy next year. It's just one of my favorite joys is watching these players who we know nothing about. We don't, no one thinks about them at all. It's going to be a terrible matchup against the Padres. And there he is just shoving and deserving it and being like, whoa, dude, I'm a stud. And like, yeah, you are. That was dope. And now he gets the Tigers and this could work out.
So that's my question. It's so wild. Also, I'm looking right now, a 4.62 ERA in AAA this year. But so you think he makes this rotation next year? I assume.
I think I would as of right now, but who knows what happens between now and then, right?
Yeah.
Who else is going to start for the White Sox?
Noah Schultz.
Maybe Nick Nastrini can finally throw strikes with his 4-seamer again, huh? That'd be cool. That'd be really cool.
Yeah. It would be cool. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. I did move up Shane Baz ahead of Burke against in Fenway, just as we were talking. I just think that Baz's curveball has been doing really well, and the 4-seamer is elite. Brant Herter, his sinker is great, and he gets the White Sox. He's lefty against the White Sox. Like, even if he doesn't, I hope he doesn't start, because then he'll be a follower and get a higher chance at a win. But in a quality start league, if he does start, then I think that should be good. Pivetta gets the Rays. Heel might not go. against the Pirates. The Yankees have been the most adamant about limiting Luis Gil's volume. And if this is a situation where they don't need this game, they will just like call up Will Warren or something like that to replace him and figure this one out, give him the full rest the rest of the year. So don't lean too heavily in that one. Yamamoto in Coors, he didn't do well against Rocky Road, but I feel like Yamamoto is just too good. And they're going to certainly want him to get into a groove before the playoffs. So they're going to say, like, no, Yamamoto, we're not going to pull you. Like, go and shove. Meanwhile, Darvish is against Arizona, which isn't fun, but just looks so good against the White Sox. I know it was the White Sox, but is 20 total four-seamer and sinker combined? So, like, his secondaries are looking great. And it's not like the Arizona Diamondbacks are just instant defeat. So I'd go for it.
Instant. The question we start here is a big one. It's Andre Palante against the Giants, Tyler McGill, sorry, against the Brewers, Andrew Heaney against the Angels, Frankie Montas against the Mets, Albert Suarez against the Twins, Mackenzie Gore against the Phillies, Grant Holmes against the Royals, Joey Estes against the Mariners, Rhett Lauder against the Cubs, Yariel Rodriguez against the Marlins, Matthew Boyd against the Astros, Zebby Matthews against the Orioles, and Griffin Canning against the Rangers. I'm going to tee you up with a question about how much we could trust Andrew Heaney against the Angels. And I'm going to step outside for 1 second because I see a person knocking on my window. And so Andrew Heaney against the Angels, how much can people trust him in this start right now?
Oh, boy. That happens to be me, Eric. You just can't realize it. Andrew Heaney didn't do well in either start against the Mariners, hasn't had his changeup for 2 starts. It is against the Angels. He's just too volatile, unfortunately, in this. And that means he's a cherry bomb. So he's inside this questionable start tier. Also inside of it is Frankie Montas and Tyler McGill going against each other. Tyler McGill hasn't really gotten his secondaries there yet, while the four-seamer is ready to be an elite. He just needs to get that thing upstairs and have something complement it. And I don't know if we're going to get that, but I feel like we should more times than not. Well, Montas just got destroyed by the Snakes. But that was the Snakes, and this is the Mets, and Frankie Montas should be able to do that. So Tyler McGill versus Frankie Montas. I like McGill slightly more than Montas, but Montas should still be able to rebound after that Snake start.
You know what? I bet it was all just amazing. Everything you said.
So Thank you so much. Who was the person? Who was that?
It was a friendly neighbor.
Oh.
Yes. Just okay. The first floor apartment with a window facing right out onto the street. You just
sometimes you see people being like, "Hi."
Yeah. Hey.
Clearly, I have headphones on and talking to a mic, but this is the time to knock.
Yeah, I'll close my blinds next time. No, but yeah, what are you gonna do? The do not start tier. We got Kyle Hendricks, Ryan Nelson, Darren McCacken.
It's McCacken.
McCacken.
Yep.
Okay. And then Antonio Senzatella, who you're not starting at home against.
Yeah, Ryan Nelson coming back is kind of cool, but no,
sure.
You cannot. It's a still and it's against the Padres. You can't do that one. And I'm actually curious your take here on Joey Estes against Seattle and Rhett Lauder against the Cubs. How do you feel there?
I'm in on both of them in like a 15-team league context. I think that the Mariners offense, we've been kind of attacking, in particular attacking, with lefties for a while. I don't necessarily love, I also think they'll be eliminated by then too. So then you have to think about just like the questionable, they're basically already eliminated. We have to think about the questionable motivation. Lauder is somebody who you and I talked about where like, we didn't believe that he was a 150 ERA pitcher, but I still think he's a fine pitcher, right? I think that there is a 4-pitch mix there that is solid, right? With the slider that has the potential to be a good offering for him. Nothing strikes me as being like a really terrible pitch. So I think that there's the ability there for him to, again, kind of like mix and match against a Cubs team that's going to be eliminated, doesn't have a lot to play for. Like, what is the motivation level there? Things like that, which make me okay because Lauder is pitching for a job, right?
Yeah.
They just fired their manager. He doesn't have a guaranteed spot in the rotation in 2025. Like, this is a guy that is every out matters for him. Every start matters. So like, I know it's hard to kind of like play those narrative games at the end, but I do think some of that matters when you're going to have a large swath of people that are I'm playing to the end, right? Because we just got to get through the season. But what am I playing for? And I'm just going to go out. I don't want to get hurt. I'm going to do my best, but I'm not going to, maybe I'll be at 75%. And so I think it's another disappointing season for the Cubs. I could see them, rolling over a little bit at the end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's certainly possible. And Rhett Lauder, those sinkers get outs, and it's like, fine. Okay.
Yeah.
And the Mariners are a little bit better now. So that's this I don't love as much, but at least they'll give you an opportunity. So there you go.
Right. Yeah, a little bit better. But we're not running from them.
Nope.
We are running to the finish line here, though. Sunday, the 29th of September, auto starts. Tarek Skubal against the White Sox, Aaron Nola against the Nationals, Shota Imanaga against the Reds, Cole Reagans against the Braves, Bailey Ober against the Orioles, Michael King against the Diamondbacks, Spencer Schwellenbach against the Royals, and Bryce Miller against the A's.
Yeah,
pretty self-explanatory.
I don't know if they're going to start.
Yes,
I have no idea.
Also that, yeah.
Like Skubal, I mean, the Tigers might be playing for that champion or for the wild card. If they already have it, he's not going.
Right.
If they don't have it, he's not going. If they're out of it, he's not going. If they're in it, he's not going. It's only if it's up for grabs on that day is he going.
Yes.
Aaron Nola, I don't expect to go on this because I think that they're just going to rest him and make sure that he has more time to prepare for his playoff game. Shota Imanaga, he could, but why? I don't know. Like you talk about, I actually think about this a lot. Japanese pitchers after their first year, generally you saw Kodai Senga be hurt because it's tough doing the major league schedule after doing it from Japan. And they might say, look, cool, let's just take a break there. Cole Reagans, if the Royals are in it, he's not pitching. If they're same exact thing as Skubal as Reagans. Bailey Ober, same situation. Those are the guys that are there to fight for if they need it, but hopefully they won't do it. And now I will think maybe Bailey Ober could still just pitch anyway, but I don't think so. Michael King, I don't expect to pitch this because he's got to be in that 3-game series out of the gate. Spencer Schwellenbach, I think Atlanta's going to be throwing him regardless because you want to get more innings for him. You want to be fighting for something with him, and they are not going to put him at the top of that rotation for that wild card game anyway. I don't know if you'd be the 3, be Fried and Sale, and then whatever they want between Charlie Morton and Schwellenbach, I guess, and Holmes, but could be
or I don't. Yeah, they haven't. I don't think they've ruled out bringing back Lopez. So who knows?
Yeah. So I mean, maybe it's possible they don't do it if they have it. It doesn't look like they would. So I think you're going to see Schwellenbach in there, and then Bryce Miller against Oakland makes sense if they're fighting for it too, and also just to keep him stretched out. So you might see Bryce Miller. That actually seems like that might actually be a thing that happens. Yeah. But keep that in mind for these auto starts on Sunday. Oh my gosh.
Yes. And there are some names here in the probably starts we might not see as well. So first of all, Nathan Eovaldi against the Angels. We got Clark Schmidt against the Pirates, Tobias Myers against the Mets, Chris Bassett against the Marlins, Tanner Houck against the Rays, Spencer Arrighetti against the Guardians, Ryan Pepio against the Red Sox, and Luis Severino against the Brewers. Right off the bat, we know that Tanner Houck is dealing with a dead arm, so I feel like probably don't get him on Sunday. If the Mets clinch, the Mets rejiggered their rotation so that Severino could get 2 starts. So they might want him pitching in that first series. So if the Mets are clinched by the last day, you might not get Severino. Everybody else feels good. Like Schmidt, the Yankees need to get innings for, even if they've already clinched.
Yes, I think Schmidt is fine. Pepio, no. Because Pepio, they're already saying we want to manage his innings.
Right, that's true. And they're done.
And so I put him in here because that's what the thing says. But I'm like, I don't think that's going to happen. Right. Spencer Arrighetti is an interesting one because he won't be in that opening series. So they might want to keep him stretched out, but they might limit him a little bit. Maybe even put him in relief to give him an opportunity to pitch out of relief. If they already clinched that, right? Just say like, look, if you're going to come into a game, it's going to be as a backup option for someone else. So let's give you that situation right out of the game, give you some practice. Chris Bassett was skipped already, and I'm not really sure why, or pushed back, and maybe they're not going to let him get this because of whatever reason that was for. And Tobias Myers, I think, is going to be in that opening series for the Brewers. I mean, it's Peralta and Myers; those are their 1 and 2, right?
I guess that's true.
Right? I mean, it's Aaron Savali in there too, and
because it's Montas.
Montas, yeah. And who's their 5th? It was DL Hall, Colin Ray. So they're gonna want Myers in there, and it's like you can't put him on
that rotation. Made the playoffs. I just want to.
I know. I mean, look, so did the Cleveland Guardians.
Right.
Okay. Like
without Shane Bieber. Remember Shane Bieber pitched this year? I don't know if you
I know he
remember
looked
that.
really good at first.
He looked
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Nathan Eovaldi also. We might see them take it easy with him. I actually could be a 2-year deal that they have with him, so he might be a free agent after this. I could be wrong, but I got to remember that. Yeah, I don't know if he's going to even get it. I mean, this is really Sunday. It's like good
Sunday
luck.
It's a free.
There are now in the questionable start. There are some that you might actually be able to target and get value from.
Right. So that tier is Dean Kramer against the Twins, Mitch Spence against the Mariners, Jack Kahanowitz against the Rangers, Jonathan Cannon against the Tigers, Gavin Williams against the Astros, Jake Irvin against the Phillies, Hunter Green against the Cubs, and Eduardo Rodriguez against the Padres. I feel like the questionables here. I mean, Gavin Williams, coming off an elbow injury earlier in the year, the Guardians will have it locked up. They'll probably let it rest. Hunter Green is going to be coming off an injury in and of his own right. Eduardo Rodriguez, they might be in the postseason, and I don't know what. How does that?
That's going to be like a handshake of an exhibition match, is what that's going to be, because they're going to be playing each other likely, right? You're going to have the third wild card spot going against the division winner, right? The Brewers. I believe that's how it works, and then the first and second wild cards play each other. I think that's how it works. So that's going to be the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Padres. And like they nod at each other and just throw a bullpen game, I think is really what happens. Hunter Green, I think they actually let him go because they want him to actually showcase that he's okay. Like, this is valuable innings for him to get back in his rehab, essentially, to be ready for a full offseason. Maybe not, but he just threw 45 pitches, and I imagine they throw him for 60. And I still don't want to do that. It's so limited. But I think we do see him there. Jake Irvin, sure, they're just going to let Jake Irvin do whatever he wants. The interesting ones are really Mitch Spence and Jack Kahanowitz, because Mitch Spence should just go. They're not going to stop Mitch Spence. He gets Seattle. Like, that could be good. Jack Kahanowitz, we've seen him do the Jack of one trade. He's made it work. If you're looking for a quality start on Sunday, it's Jack Kahanowitz. Step on up. So that's really it. I mean, Dean Kramer is a wild card. I don't know if he would go this one. I don't think that Dean Kramer is their number 3. I could be wrong. It's Corbin Burns and Zach Eflin, and then Cade Povich, Albert Suarez, Dean Kramer, one of those 3. So I don't know if they're going to feel like they need to save Dean Kramer or not for Sunday. We'll see what happens there.
Yeah, yes, that is a question of like what, again, as we've been saying with all of this, how do these things shake out? Do they clinch? Yep. Do they not? The Orioles still feel like they're going to clinch, and then we might see some of these other guys come up. I wonder if we see Grayson Rodriguez for a couple of innings just to let him kind of like get into a game situation. We don't know how this whole week's going to shake out.
Yeah, of course.
And then the do not starts. You got Landon Knack in Coors, Ryan Weathers against the Blue Jays, Bailey Falter against the Yankees, Hayden Birdsong against the Cardinals, Ryan Feltner against the Dodgers, and Michael McGreevy against the Giants. And again, like, I should note, everything we've just said about all these other pitchers and all these other team situations also applies to the do not starts, in the sense that, like, Bailey Falter against the Yankees, don't start him. If the Yankees are sitting Judge and Soto, maybe that becomes a questionable start. Like, everybody in the do not start tier has an asterisk of like, check the opposing lineup.
Right. And I will be there. I'll be there doing the Plus Pitch podcast and streaming on Saturday and Sunday also this weekend, just because it's the finals. We got to be there together to help. So I will be there letting you know on the day of what it's looking like and if I would change any of these tiers. But yeah, good luck, guys. It's really, this is so hard, and it's really frustrating when your season comes down to these kinds of decisions, but sometimes it does. And best of luck.
All right, bye. See ya.
Yeah.
Well, yes, but best of luck to everybody. Listen, I know people have said like, oh, this, sorry to bring up fantasy football.
What? Do you know what shirt I'm wearing today?
That's why I'm bringing it up. No, but most people, most fantasy football leagues end before the final week of the season. And I have read a lot of comments on social media that are like, fantasy baseball league should end before the last week, because
mine did on Sunday. Yeah.
And I get it. I understand that logic. But if you are in a league, like, roto leagues do continue all the way through. And you got to manage this. It is like, especially if you're in a situation where you're chasing that point or two, this is maybe the most stressful week of the season. We're here to help you out with it as much as possible. You can, reach out to either one of us on Twitter. We'll try to ask you, try to answer your questions on the day of, if need be, to kind of like help you, guide you in the direction of what might be the best pitcher to choose. But just know that, like, even an analyst or whatever you want to call people that do this for a living, like, we're making the best decisions we can with the info that we have at the time. And there's so many moving parts in the last week that, like, if you see something and you have a gut reaction to, like, I need to start this pitcher against that weak lineup, or I need to bench this pitcher because I don't think the game means anything to their team, trust yourself on it. There's nobody has the right answer to this last week. There's so many unknowns. You just got to live and die with what you believe is the right call in your gut.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just so difficult. And by the way, just even thinking about this right now, like, the guys that we thought were going to be shut down by the end of the year, no one's been shut down.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Tigers did this wild thing where they got into the playoff race.
Yeah.
And like, so we were like,
School hasn't been shut down. Skeens hasn't been shut down. We did get one skip start from like Ryan Pepio, kind of, and then one from Renel Blanco. But that's it.
The White Sox did what they said they were going to do with Crochet.
Oh, you're right.
Which killed all of his fantasy value.
Garrett Crochet is the one. I apologize. Yeah. You're right. You're
Crochet
absolutely
is
right.
The one. And the Tigers, we didn't think the Tigers were going to shut down Skeens. They outright said,
Pirates,
we're going to manage the Skubal. The Tigers outright said with Skubal, we're going to manage his innings, and we're not going to like abbreviate his starts, but we might skip a start or push him a day or two or whatever. And then all of a sudden the Tigers found themselves in the middle of the playoff race. And so they're like, yeah, well, obviously we're not going to do that.
Thank you, Royals. I guess 7 straight, right?
Royals and Twins for falling apart a little bit.
Oh my gosh.
So,
but all right, that I think is going to do it for today.
That's going to do it.
And I can't wait to reflect. I mean, next week is going to be a weird one. You're going to get an early preview of the top 200 because it's going to come out the next day, and it's going to be more of an open discussion about it. Than the next week we'll really dissect it. Be more of just kind of almost a round table. And Eric, I'm going to be pushing Eric as hard as I can to just get some sort of preliminary, but not actually like finalized, like be in the rough draft of just like, okay, I just came up with this quickly within an hour, that kind of top 200 list. I gave you the starting pitcher grid. I have my 1 through 25. I have like labels there. Ignore the labels. Copy that sheet and get rid of them. Okay.
Can do.
No bias.
Done. No bias. Just need to know who's potentially in these rotations.
Yeah. Right,
Quinn Priester, top 100. Let's go.
There it is.
Yeah.
That is Eric, looking forward to that one.
Me too. Looking forward to it. Everybody hang around. There'll be more on the corner in the off season. Thank you for grinding with us and sticking with us through the regular season. It's my first full regular season here on the corner. And it's been a pleasure. It's been a blast chatting with you every week for the entire season, which seemed to go by in a blink, but also was so long. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. And we'll be out here all off season. And Nick and I are going to be out at First Pitch Arizona. We're going to do some recording. I'm going to do some presenting. It's going to be a good time.
Can't wait. And Eric, just want to say on behalf of everyone, thank you so much for stepping up here for On the Corner. You've done an unbelievable job, man.
Well, thanks.
I've been so fortunate to have you as my co-host for this. It's been a blast. And
I'm happy to be here.
Looking forward to more, man.
Yeah, happy to be here. We're going to keep grinding, getting better.
We got this.
We're not resting on laurels.
We're not done.
We
don't go dark.
We're not done. We take our jobs very seriously. We're out here all the time. So for Eric Samulski, the Pelican.
For Nick Pollack, the Lion.
I'm going to go and knock on some of my neighbors' windows for a little bit.